Welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking about spreading them legs. Spreading them legs for a pat down and strip search. Okay, get your mind out the gutter. Get your mind out the gutter. Nasty. Oh, nasty self. Yes, we are going to be discussing how to perform the proper strip search and how to perform a pat down. I got my little helper back here, my little body thing, just to show you guys how to properly pat down. I'm going to be giving you guys two bonus tips. The first bonus tip is the pat down method, and then the second one is coming from Officer Trouble, and I'll insert that clip now so you guys can read it for yourselves, and then we'll discuss it afterwards, okay?
So this comment comes from Officer Trouble. It reads, "Hi Madolyn, I just found your channel and I love it. My name is Cheryl or Trouble, whichever you prefer, and I am also a corrections officer. Your videos are great, but let me share a technique that I use at work that maybe you might find helpful and can use yourself. I'd also love to get your thoughts on it. Basically, I wanted to come up with a quick way to grab the inmate's attention after it took us too long to break up a fight one time. So, what I do is I shout the word trouble. And when I do, the inmates have to drop what they are doing, line up, and wait for further instructions. This took a little getting used to, but the inmates responded well to it and picked it up quick. I even did what I like to call trouble drills with them to practice. This works great and it has helped me out so much. It helped me with count times, searches when I want to cuff up a bunch. I chose the word trouble because it's an easy, identifiable word. Plus, if I have to shout it, that means trouble is happening or coming, or you, the inmates, are about to be in trouble. Other officers even started doing this, which was great to see. This is how I got my officer Trouble nickname. So if this is something you can give a try, please feel free to do so. Again, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this technique. Thanks for reading, and I hope you don't mind the long comment."
Okay, so for that bonus tip that Officer Trouble is talking about, she's basically just stating to shout the word trouble to gain the attention of the offenders that are committing any acts that they're not supposed to be committing, whether it's just grabbing their attention or you're trying to gain control over the housing unit. I think it's an impeccable and great idea. Unfortunately, in my facility, you cannot deviate from the policy at all. Like, it's very rare. So if we were to do something like that as an officer, we would probably be charged with inciting a riot. You're supposed to call a code, plain and simple. Like, the micromanagement in my facility was on a 10. Like, officers had really no rights. I think it would be great. We weren't allowed to do any type of drills per se. We do a fire drill, but that wasn't with the offenders. It was with us officers, and some of us posed as the offenders just to ensure that we knew how to have custody and control over the inmates. So, Officer Trouble, thank you for that great advice. That great, though, it's a wonderful idea. If it works for your facility, guys, by all means, please adopt it, utilize it. Again, basically all she's saying is to utilize a word to gain the offender's attention so that you're able to set forth directions and instructions in order to gain control over your housing unit. So again, thank you. So the next comment that I had on my previous video, young lady or a person asked me how to perform the proper strip search. So the first one I'm going to start with is the pat down. I think the pat down method is very important. It cuts down on the distribution of what is it called? I've been out the game for so long. Contraband. Contraband is anything that's not allowed in the facility. It could literally be an unauthorized magazine. Seriously, it could be gum. It could be anything. The pat down method is also utilized on officer to officer. So as you're entering your facility, you're probably getting shook down. You're probably getting patted down. They're probably going through your stuff, you know, getting underneath the wires and everything of your brassiere and all that stuff. Like, they get real invasive when it comes to us officers and us offenders. One way to gain a reputation is by implementing the pat down method with your offenders. So if you're in the hallway and you just so happen to see an offender walking down the hallway, pat them down, because a lot of times that's how substances and contraband is being moved around in the facility. So I'm going to get my little friend over here set up, and I'm going to show you a good way to pat down. Okay, so this is Sis right here, okay? Sis had a little bit of too much to drink, all right? She went out, had a good time, had a little too much to drink. She decided it was a good idea to get behind the wheel and drive. So now she got a DWI, y'all. I know it was unfortunate. So what we're going to do today is we're going to be performing the proper pat down. I'm going to have a picture inserted of the proper stance that your offender will be facing as you're performing the pat down search, okay? First thing you're going to ask her, ma'am, do you have anything on you that could potentially harm me or yourself? No, ma'am, I don't have anything on me. Why are you doing all this? Like, you be doing the most. They done did this behind it, and that's what they're going to say. But then there are some that are going to be quiet, and they're going to be like, no, ma'am, I don't have anything. So the first thing you're going to want to do, you're going to want to get in your stance, okay? You got one foot in front of the other, one behind you, just as a safety precaution, and you're going to work your way around the collar, okay? Your hands are gloved. Mine are not, because this is for just demonstrating purposes. Your offender, again, is in this stance that's down below. You're going to come across, Sis, like this. See, she's tipsy. She's already wobbling. And come down like this. You're going to take one hand because her arm is up, and you're going to come down. You're going to come down her arm, okay? You're going to do the same thing over here. You're going to come down her other arm. You're going to come down her back, okay? You're going to ask her to spread her legs. You're going to come down one leg, and then you're going to come down the other leg. If the person has on pants, you're going to run your fingers around the bottom of their pant leg to ensure that there's no contraband tucked underneath the pants, okay? Now, with female offenders, you are going to have to come up underneath the bust to make sure that there is nothing there. You're going to have to come down the front of her, okay? If the offender, female offender, has on a hairpiece that is not sewed in, you have to remove it. You ask them, ma'am, are you wearing a wig? No, this is my real hair, this, that, and the third. Okay, well, I have to inspect. And upon inspection, as you are looking at her wig, her weave, her hair, you see that it is indeed a wig, that it is not sewn in. You have to remove it. If you cannot remove it, you let the offender know that there's not going to be any privileges until that piece is removed, and it has to be removed in front of the officer to ensure that there's no contraband up underneath there. Suboxone, heroin, cocaine, marijuana, knives, or anything. 9 times out of 10, your offender is going to be going through a metal detector, but even then, you still want to take all safety precautions. So let's just say I'm performing a search. She's standing here. I'm going in her pockets. She is not happy. Now go through this pocket. Oh, what do we have here? Okay. Oh. Okay, lip gloss. So because this is all that she's had, that she has, let's just say that this is just indeed an empty baggie. There's nothing in it. If this had drugs in it, you give them the opportunity to discard of it. You let them know, listen, I am discarding this. Okay, actually, you don't even let them know. You let the processing officer that brought them over know that, one, they did a piss poor job patting down their offender because here's some weed, you're going to go ahead and you're going to discard it. Or the proper thing to do is to let your supervisor know and allow your supervisor to make that determination as to what's going to be done. Everything else would be processed, okay? Even down to the little trash. It would be processed and put in their property. That way they cannot say that you have done anything with their stuff. Also in this position, you perform a semi strip down, okay? You ask the offender to remove their shoes right then and there. You want to lift up the flap in their shoe, possibly remove it, look through it, make sure there's nothing in there. You want to bend the shoe back and forth to make sure that the shoe does not have any contraband in it. You return the shoe back to the offender. If they're wearing socks, yes, they have to remove their socks right then and there. Even though you're going to possibly be doing this part of the process over again, you're making sure that nothing comes in your facility that could potentially harm you, okay? So that's the pat down method. Okay, so with the strip search, it's a little different, obviously, because your offenders are going to be removing their clothes. A couple of tips, okay? Please remain professional. I don't care how agitated the offender is. They're going to say things to get up underneath your skin. Understand they're in a compromising position. They already feel humiliated, and trauma loves drama. Okay, so don't forget that. Remain professional. First thing you're going to want to do is when you get into the processing area and it's time to remove their clothing, you ask them, okay? I always ask. Give them the benefit of the doubt to try to be human, to be vulnerable with one another. You say to the offender, okay, ma'am, I need for you to remove your top, okay? Shake out your top and pass me your top, okay? And you hold your gloved hands out like this. You're treating their items with nothing but respect, okay? I don't care if it's the dingiest shirt on a homeless person. You treat it with respect. You take their items, you tell them to stop, you give them very clear and concise directions. You tell them to stand still, and you begin to inspect their garment, okay? You look along the lines of the neck, you look in the arms, you inspect everything. You also let them see that their item, this is how it came. You show them there's no damages done to their items. You fold it up. You pass it to the person that's in charge of that area in that dressing room area, or you lay it right there on the ledge. Then you ask that person to remove their top, okay? You always want to start from the top all the way down to the bottom, okay? My facility did not issue showers upon entry, okay? We did not do that. The offenders did that once they got to the diagnostic area where they had to stay quarantined for, I believe it was like 7 to 14 days. You ask them to remove their brassiere. My facility also allowed them to have their bras. You inspect their bra, okay? While they're in that position, fully bare, you ask them to lift the girls up. If they don't have any girls like that, you just ask them to run their hands around the bottom just to ensure that there's nothing there, nothing taped or anything. You give them back their bra so that they could put on their bra. Then you ask them to remove their shoe and their other shoe, okay? You take the shoe again, you inspect the shoe again, because you never know what they got from another offender there, okay? You then retrieve the sandals from the processing officer or whomever the property officer is. You retrieve the sandals from them. You ask them to remove their socks. Again, you're still going to look because you don't know what has been passed to the offender. You inspect both socks. In my facility, they were allowed to have their socks. It didn't matter what color they were allowed to have their socks. You ask them to lift up the bottom of their feet, okay? You give them, I always did 1 foot at a time so that at least one of their feet was covered, because the floors could be nasty. It didn't matter if they was dirty or not. I still gave them that luxury of respect. Like they're still humans. They still have human rights. I would give them their socks back. Like I said, 1 foot at a time. That way, one of their feet is always covered. Then I asked them to remove their pants. Okay. I asked them to shake out their pants. They pass me the pants. Again, I go around the waistband. I go down the legs. I go down the other leg. I look into the seams, make sure that there's nothing sewn in or anything. Fold it up, put it on the property officer's desk. Okay, that it's like a window. Sat it there. At this point, your offender is semi-nude because they're only in their bra, their panties, and their socks. Okay. It's at this time that you have to be very clear and concise with your directions. You want to be respectful, okay? So you also want to look in their mouths. So I always just had them open their mouth, just like open their mouth wide, and I would just flash my light in their mouth just to ensure that there was nothing in there. I never asked them to insert anything in their mouths or insert their fingers because you just don't know the circumstance. And again, I'm being respectful to their situation. So while your offender is in their bra and their panties and their socks, or at this point boxers, you ask them to remove their undergarments. Okay, they should be standing like this, legs spread open, standing like this, facing you to where you can see everything. You ask them to remove their underwear, remove completely. You then instruct them to turn around, to face the wall, to squat in a squat position. You ask them to hold open their butt cheeks and to cough 3 to 5 times as hard as they can to ensure that nothing is inserted in them. Do not insert anything, your fingers. Ask them to look in. You do not do that. That is not your job. You are an officer. Only medical staff can perform a cavity search. You are not allowed to do that. Do not do it. You will be arrested. That is I think it's sodomy. Okay? Do not do that. You then allow the offender to take their underwear and put them on, and that's when you issue them their uniform. Okay. In my experience, I have seen so many tatas and booties, it's ridiculous. After a while you get used to it, and I shared this in my podcast earlier today. The best way to get over your fear of conducting a strip search is to honestly practice on yourself. As weird as it sounds, get yourself a big mirror and stand there and look at yourself, because I guarantee you, once you get over that fear of looking at someone else's body because you looked at yours so long, or if you have a good friend that's willing to allow you to do that. I mean, I know it sounds weird, but I mean, whatever works. For me, I was always comfortable. Like, it didn't really bother me because I knew that this is what I was signing up for, okay? If you're dealing with an unruly offender that doesn't want to, comply with your instructions, do not argue with them. Do not fight with them. Okay, no problem. You place them in a holding cell. You go and retrieve your supervisor, and you just it's above you now. At this point, it's above you. I know earlier in the video, I said if an offender comes into the facility with drug paraphernalia, again, you do not bring that into the facility. So it should be like a loading dock that you're in at this point. Always consult your supervisor. If your supervisor, like I had a couple of supervisors that was just like, if they're coming in with it, and let's just say the state trooper didn't, because state troopers, I'm gonna need y'all to perform some dang on real pat downs, okay? Like, I'm talking like a guy came in, he had a dang on, what are those switchblade knives, like didn't even pat homeboy down, had a cell phone and everything in his pockets, okay? State troopers, do better. Like, don't remove the stuff, okay? But I know I had a supervisor that was like, listen, They didn't come here to gain extra charges. Obviously, someone slacked on their job, so it is our job to get rid of it, so that 9 times out of 10 they would destroy it. Now, if it comes in through court close, you have to document it. You have to do the chain of custody, and it should be like 2 or 3 officers. It's like a check and balance thing, where you guys are storing the drugs, and it takes 2 people to unlock whatever locking system that they have. I really hope that this has helped answer any questions. I just like to take a moment and thank everyone that has come along on my little journey, just in general, from like my earlier vlogs. Like we've been through a little journey. Like okay, I might be a little tad bit bipolar, maybe, haven't been diagnosed yet, but maybe. But I just wanted to take a moment and just thank everybody for coming along this journey with me, for bearing with me. Honestly, I've always wanted to do content like this, but because of the lawsuit I was in, I was not able to even mention anything about it. Like, it was really hard. I feel like and I'm probably going to do a whole nother other video on this topic, but if you're a supervisor watching my video, please check in on your officers. They're struggling. Like, it's hard work, especially if your facility is the type to micromanage. Please understand that the officers are dealing with a lot of stress. They're dealing with the stress of their housing unit. They're dealing with their own personal stress, and then it might also depend on how they are as an employee. I know for me, I felt very isolated. I felt like I didn't have a lot of support in my facility, and I 110% take accountability for the parts that I contributed into my own downfall, okay? So I don't want people to think that, oh, woe is me, only all this bad stuff happened to me, I'm the victim here. Absolutely not. I was feisty. I was very spicy, okay? Very spicy. So again, y'all, please make sure you're checking out my podcast. I've been very consistent, for the most part, recording on Mondays. I've been getting out some good content for y'all. Please share my videos, subscribe. Got a new series for y'all. If you are experiencing some type of misfortune in your workplace anywhere, y'all, message me, okay? Message me, and we will discuss it anonymously, okay? Like, I'll do a whole video on it, and I'll let y'all know what I think about this, especially if it's pertaining to hostile work environment and FMLA violations, workman's comp. Like, email it to me. I want to dig into this stuff, and I want to get you guys at least pointed in the right direction, so that at least you too can have a voice. Allow me to be that voice for y'all. Like, allow me to be that voice. And if you don't want it on the video and you just want it on the podcast, I'll insert my little picture of this time with Miss Parker, meaning like, this time we're gonna talk about this with Miss Parker. Like, you're gonna get Miss Parker's view. Go ahead and message me on my social medias. They're all listed below. And let's get into it. Let's get into it. So thank you for watching. I'm gonna catch y'all in my next video. Y'all have a good day. And again, we got this. We're doing this. Y'all, I'm just so excited about what's to come. Y'all have a good day. Bye-bye.